Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Everyday Adventure podcast. How's it going, Megan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm excited for our conversation with today's guest.
Yeah, we have Brandon Janous on the podcast. How'd you meet him?
Brandon was at Bob Goff's writing retreat. His daughter was there actually as a participant. Hadley, she's coming on the podcast eventually. That is something that's going to happen. She's amazing. But Brandon was there to kind of talk about the business of books, but he also shared his story, and it was like deeply, deeply, deeply impactful. And he's just also one of the coolest guys ever. We talked about golfing, and he runs a publishing company that I've gotten to start to do some work with on like the book launch coaching side of things. So he's become somebody that's like shot up there in the sense of like, I really like this guy and we have a lot in common and we really enjoy hanging out. So virtually right now.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this is a trend for you. Sometimes you're like, I think we could be friends. Like we've had people on podcasts, but then I think this like legit happened. You were like, wait, I think we'll be friends. And
yeah. Confirm, Brandon. I'm just kidding. No, for sure. I think again, you just find people, and I think that's been the fun thing about this last few years of life is that you meet people in a way that you normally wouldn't. Having this podcast, having our previous podcast, open doors that just weren't there for conversations with people that have become friends. And so it's really fun. But today, Brandon is going to share a little bit of his story. Brandon is going to talk about, one, he was working on the road. He was traveling for work and just wasn't working for their family anymore. And so his wife pulled him aside and said something's got to change. So they bought a camper and they started traveling together. You're going to hear this whole story and ultimately also how Rachel was eventually diagnosed with cancer and passed away. And he shares a little bit of what he learned through that experience. He shares a little bit of what she left him with before she passed away. And it's really powerful. Like this episode, what did you say when you came over?
This will make you cry?
Yeah, for sure. But I first heard Brandon share a lot of this at the retreat, and he read the letter or the 8 things that Rachel gave him before she passed. And it was their last just solo time together. It was their last date, just the two of them. And she had it on a note, and she read it all to him, and he obviously kept that and cherished it. And so this episode will definitely help people understand what is most important, what matters most. Because when something that matters the most is taken away, it clarifies things really, 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 really fast. And so you're also going to love Brandon because he's just a good dude and he's just a fun dude and he is amazing. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode with Brandon Janous. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode. I'm joined by my friend Brandon Janous. How's it going, Brandon?
Good, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. The only thing that would make it better is if you were in person or if we were on a golf course.
Bro, that now golf cart podcast is where we need to go, bro.
I
We need to do
know.
everything I like that. Or even walking. I love to walk. So walking 9 and having a whole production team. Let's do it next time.
Yeah. Because right
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm just
It's
so close to a whole production team with my
for
computer.
sure. For sure. Next year.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
go.
man, we just got to meet each other in February, and sometimes in life you get a fast friend that's just like instantly like, all right, let's figure out how this works. And I just appreciate that about you and just pumped to introduce you to my world, to some of the people that hear from us on a regular basis. And so, but I know you have a very powerful story, and unfortunately sometimes powerful stories come through painful journeys. And so do you mind just kind of giving us that glimpse of your journey, of kind of what has brought you here?
Yeah, man. Well, again, thanks for having me. Man, where do you even begin? I fell in love with a girl in college, and we went to different colleges. She was in Nebraska. I was at University of Missouri. But I knew that I was gonna chase her as long as it took to convince her to have me, and it took a lot longer than I expected. But about 10 years of a chase, I eventually talked her into marrying me. Her name was Rachel. And we got married in 2010. and lived in Hawaii for a couple years. When we first started out, I was in the golf world and got to do Hawaii with her. It was really really special time. And then decided we needed to grow up a little bit and wanted to start a family. So we ended up in Tennessee and started having kids and had three kids in a few years. Um, and life was good, man. Life was good. We were had healthy kids. We were healthy. We were doing well financially. I was traveling a bunch. I would train teams and organizations on culture and team building, and was on the road a bunch, which Rachel didn't love. We had three kids, five and under, and she decided
Wait,
one day they were
what
going to
didn't she
go.
love about
Yeah.
it?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think what was the hardest for her, and I think we've all been there, like I was absent when I wasn't home, and then I was absent when I was home because I was so focused on my work that focused on climbing the tier, focused on making the money, focused on the things that I thought mattered, providing, and which is important, right? But not as important as some other things to Rachel and to the kids. And so Rachel had a famous phrase, I need you to be here with your whole face, because often we're looking down at our phone or we're looking at our computer with other things, and I don't want my kids to grow up looking at the top of my head, and so Rachel's big thing was, we need you here with your whole face. When you're here, we need you here with your whole face. And so all that to say, I did not listen and I did not get any better. So she decided one day they were going to go with me, and we moved into a motorhome for a year and traveled the country. So everywhere I went, they were with me, which was the coolest thing in the world. At first, I thought, how does this work? But that's the year I learned about perspective and what really mattered. And that sometimes the webinar can wait, or the client can wait, or the podcast can wait, because what's most important is this 3-year-old that needs 10 minutes of your time, or what's most important is your wife that needs to have a conversation. And when you're in 40 feet of RV and there's nowhere to go, and you're doing your webinar here, and there's three kids with diapers on or whatever running around in the back, and it just really changed my entire perspective on how to live and how to parent and how to husband and how to all the things. And God knew what he was doing, man. I didn't know how bad I needed that season until 6 months after we moved out of that motor home. Rachel got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so we had this season of of presence, and then 6 months after that, we lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, started a company out there with some friends, and Rachel felt a lump, and she was in the medical field, and so she knew right away what it was. And in April of 2018, we got the call that it was in fact breast cancer. So that was kind of a long story leading into that. I don't know where you want me to go next, but that was to 2018. That's where we're at.
Well, I mean, I think yeah, it's always hard even to think about how to ramp into these things, and but I think your story up to that point had been pretty kind of normal, in
Yeah.
quote unquote normal. You had the kids, you were building some things, you were making money, you were doing those things that I think a lot of us do kind of label as center of the net, like this is what success looks like. And I know you
Yeah.
talked about that, but like in the RV, was there ever a moment, or because obviously in retrospective, like when we look back at our life, it's easy to kind of make these declarative statements of, you know, I found perspective, but what was it that you were wrestling with in those moments? And because I'm sure sometimes in the RV it was like, man, I wish they were home and I was alone in this meeting. But how was that wrestling match like internally there?
Man, that's a great question. I wrote a lot during that season, and I don't remember looking back, honestly, ever thinking, man, I wish they were home. I think I missed out on the first few years by just being gone all the time,
Yeah.
that I was so grateful. And my entire perspective on what really mattered to my family changed in that season. And I needed that. I needed a complete lifestyle change, right? I needed 40 feet because even to what I said earlier, when I was home, I wasn't home. I was locked in my office. I was doing calls. And so like to be able to have a 3-year-old jumping on the bed in my background, as I'm having this
Yeah.
conversation, it's just life. And what I thought was so cool is how everybody respected it. That this was my season, this was my journey, right?
Yeah.
And like nobody was turned off by the fact that this is my life. This is my life. And sometimes, I feel like leading up to that season, Rachel and the kids got the leftovers. And sometimes it's okay to give everyone else your leftovers. Give those, my four, everything I've got. And sometimes you might get my leftovers. I might be tired. I might not feel great. I might not, going into that meeting. And because for the first, 5, 6 years of our marriage, Rachel got my leftovers, and that wasn't fair anymore. And so I just had a complete shift, man, and I learned how to ask better questions and how to again be a better friend, be a better business partner, be by watching my kids interact with people, by watching them have conversations, by watching them live life like uh, it was the last day, like everything, no worries. It was just fun. And so I am eternally grateful for that season. Again, not knowing the season we were going to head into, shortly after. And none of this surprised our Father. None of what happened next in our life surprised God. And had I not had that season of presence and just being there, I don't know where I would have been when the next
Right.
season approached. And so I don't think I can look back at a time and think, man, I wish they weren't here. I just loved that season so big, man.
Yeah, and I know it's really hard to um play that game of like if we would have never done that year, if we would have
Yeah.
never done the RV, but for the sake of conversation, say that you didn't do that year. Say
Ooh,
business as normal went on and the same news came from the doctor, a year and a half later. I know, just try. How would it have played out, or how do you think it would have played out?
man, that's a great question. I've never thought about that. I would be in a bad place. I think I would be in a bad, I think I would, because I think if I'm good at anything, I'm not good at many things, but I think if I'm good at anything, I'm really good at being dad. I think
Yeah,
daddy's my favorite name. And I don't know that I was prior. Rachel let me be the hero all the time. Rachel never would call me out in front of the kids for being absent or not being there or anything like that. Rachel let me be the hero, but I think that season um, taught me just how to be a good dad. And
yeah,
and that we talked about it before we pressed record. You got about 14 summers left,
yeah,
until your kids are gone, right? And for me, it's a lot less. I got about 7, now. And I just shifted. That just shifted everything. I don't know, man. I think I would suck. I think I would suck as a dad, which to me is my most important role today, right?
yeah,
And so again, there was no accident there. And you fast forward, so April of 18, we get the news, and it's breast cancer, right? You get the call
yeah,
from the doctor, and it's breast cancer, and like, man, everyone beats breast cancer. It still sucks because you hear cancer, and you're like, well, that sucks. I've never experienced that, right? I don't know what
right.
to, you know, and so it sucked, but also most people beat it, and so you don't think it's a death sentence at all, right? So you're just like, okay, let's go tackle this, right? And we lived up the mindset like, why not us? We love Jesus. We got Jesus in our corner. We've got a healthy family. We got,
Yeah,
I had a good job where I actually had insurance, to help with that. And so like, why not us? Let's go create something, through this story, right? And we were very public about it, not because we wanted sympathy, but we wanted prayers. We thought, we
Yeah.
believe in the power of prayer, obviously, and we wanted awareness because Rachel was young and healthy, and it shouldn't have been her,
Yeah.
and so we tackled that first year of it is like, man, let's just go beat it, and we did. We did all the chemo, all the radiation, the mastectomy, the hysterectomy, all the things that you would do to be proactive in this space. And a little less than a year after we got diagnosed, we got a complete clean bill of health. Like Rachel, I remember the doctor looking at me and saying, "You have just as good of a chance to get cancer as Rachel. It's gone." And so we're like, okay, great.
Wow.
Like we did it. We went on this celebration trip with family and celebrated cancer free, and that was in April, exactly a year after we got diagnosed. And we were good. And we had about April, May, June, July, about 4 months of good. And then Rachel woke up with terrible back pain in August of 2019. And again, she knew right away. She's like, it's back. What are you talking about? Like, I have back pain. My back
Yeah.
hurts. I'm old. I don't wake up without back pain. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, it's back. And I was like, okay. And so we went and got checked in August of 19, and it had spread into her spine. And a simple Google search then is like, oh shoot, like you can't remove spine. You can't get it out of your bone, right? Like it's
Right.
there. And so you start to think the worst. It's like, man, Google's telling me she's got 5 years or she's got whatever. And so that's when it became really real. That it's like, man, like, is this her last Christmas? Like, is this like that's a very different feeling than that original diagnosis of breast cancer that most people beat, right? And so we again went to a bunch of specialists, did everything we could, went to the best doctors in the world, did MD Anderson, did I mean all the things we could, spent everything we had and more to try to figure out how we could survive, you know? And then Christmas Eve of 2019, we're going to see Santa because my sister and Rachel every year on Christmas Eve would want to go see Santa with the kids, and one was crying. Sometimes two were crying every year because they were babies. It was the most annoying thing we ever did, but we still do it to this day. But went with all the cousins and went and saw Santa, and Rachel collapsed in the mall. She just fainted, and so an ambulance had to come. The kids didn't see it. They were way ahead of us, so they didn't have to see all that. Ambulance came, picked her up. I drove to the hospital, and they did some scans that evening. And I remember the doctor coming in and saying, "Hey, y'all just need to go home. That's where you need to be tonight." And I remember that knowing right then, like this was going to be it. This was going to be our last Christmas. Like the way he said, like the most important place for you to be is home tonight or tomorrow morning. And so I remember watching Rachel watch the kids that morning and thinking, man, like this is it. Like this is, I don't know if we have a month or 2 months or four. I don't know, but I know like it's not good. And the kids having no idea, but me and Rachel having every idea, like this is it. And that was hard, man. I don't remember much about that Christmas other than just watching Rachel watch them because I knew that was probably going to be, barring a miracle, the last Christmas together, which happened so fast, bro. We were
Yeah.
good 6 months ago, 5 months
Right.
ago, and long story short, the cancer had spread into her brain and all over, I mean, all over her body. And um, at that point, doctors hadn't given up, but again, the Google will tell you that ain't good. And, we don't, there wasn't much more to do at that point. And then we checked into the hospital. Again, she had another kind of seizure episode, and we checked into the hospital January 20th, the 19th or 20th. of 2020, and then we spent the rest of her life in the hospital. She survived another 39 nights, and passed away on March 1st, 2020. The doctors just they tried everything, and there was just nothing else they could do, and so she didn't want to die at home. She didn't want the kids to remember that, so we just spent 40 days in the hospital, and just watched her die, but more than that, I got to watch her minister to people, man. Like, bro, people came into that hospital like thinking they were gonna say bye to Rachel. It was gonna be this really emotional, hard thing. And Rachel would just turn him to Jesus, turn him to Jesus. Like her
Mm.
attitude, her spirit, her I got to have a front row seat to watch people be ministered to. And if you didn't know Jesus, you did when you left that room. If you knew him better when you left that room. It was just such a freaking cool thing, man. Literally watching my wife die, but watching her turn people to Jesus every second of the way, man. It was it was surreal, incredible that I got to watch that happen every single day. It was awesome.
I mean, that's yeah. I remember you sharing that, at the writing retreat and just sharing
Yeah.
uh just your story and just sharing some of those moments. And I know it's hard in those moments to see like where the purpose is in the pain, but I feel like you did get to see it a little bit. Like you did get to
Bro.
see it on the fly, which I think is,
Yeah.
again, we so often look back at those big moments, those painful moments, and we see how there was good. But do you remember holding that, like this terrible loss that you're witnessing, but like
Yeah, man.
this weird, paradox?
Yeah, dude, that's such a good question. So like it's we got to grieve. We got to grieve together. Rachel and I got to grieve together, which not everybody gets, right? A lot of times we
Yeah,
lose people in accidents or a fire or this or that.
right.
We got to grieve what we thought would be together, right? Like we knew, like other than a miracle, Rachel was going home, you know?
Yeah.
And so when she was gone, man, I remember probably 4 or 5 days before she died, my pastor, who's a dear friend, came in and I'm walking him out to the lobby, and he said, "Hey, I just need you to know it's okay to be relieved when this is over."
Wow.
And I thought, man, like I'm not allowed to be relieved when she dies. That doesn't feel okay. You know what I'm saying? And I remember the relief. I remember the relief because she had no more pain, no more uncertainty, no more doctor's appointment, no more. She was home, bro. Like I remember that relief when that happened, and knowing that I got to now go home and be dad and go be with my kids who I hadn't been able to be with in 40 days. They'd come up to the hospital every day, but I hadn't been dad. I hadn't been home.
Right.
And we had to go start our new normal now. And there was this huge sense of relief that it was finished, and so my grief, so much of my grieving was the 40 days, bro. I mean, sure, there were still like all the
Yeah,
things that
yeah.
happened after, but like and in this space you get judged. Oh, he grieved too fast or he grieved too different. Man, nobody knows. There's no right or wrong to how you walk through this, right? But I remember Rachel giving me permission to be okay. Like that's all she wanted. Giving me permission to have good days. That's all she wanted. Giving me permission to fall in love again. Rachel was trying to marry me off to nurses before she even died, right? Like, because she said, "You can't do this alone. You can't do this alone." And so like, I d she was home. She was where we're all
Yeah.
trying to get there, and like she had this, like she was ready to be home. No, she didn't want to leave me and her kids behind, but we're all gonna be there, and she won the race, and so and it's not because I was mad at God, bro. I was mad at God when we got the diagnosis the second time, man. I'm like, why her? But Rachel never once, man. Like her purpose was this, and she lived it out, and she did it so well, and like. Um, I just got to be a witness to it all, and so grateful for the healing that took place, for the planning that took place, for all the things that we were able to take place in that season of Rachel being 100% selfless and making sure that we were all going to be okay. Is it hard still to this day? For sure.
Yeah.
Do they miss their mommy every day? For sure. Is Mother's Day awful? Yes. There's do I wish Hadley's going to get her license in a few weeks? Do I wish Rachel was here for that? Do I wish she'd be here for prom? Yes, yes, yes. It doesn't make it easier, but um, her perspective was so good, and she left us that, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't go to her grave uh, whining and moaning and why me? It was like, man, take me, God, take me. And that I can sleep well at night knowing that she was ready, and all she wanted for us was to go enjoy life and live well and love well and do well and serve well. And that's our role. That's our job. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Well, I think, one of the things I talk about a lot is living with the end in mind. And
Mm.
you it's something to say, and you can base it off scripture and experiences, but you saw somebody live with the end in mind. Like you
Mm.
and I know she left some messages with you, that are personal, but would you mind just sharing a couple of those
Yeah, man.
messages? Because they're just so powerful. Like the way she was thinking in that, and like you said, the permission, and
Yeah,
um, she really helped you and the kids in that grief process in ways that probably she didn't realize she was
sure.
doing. But just share a couple of those because they're so powerful. I know there's a
Yeah,
couple
man.
funny ones too.
Yeah, they're it's again, you talk about just selflessness, man. Like I don't know when Rachel came up with this list of 8 things that she needed from me or wanted from me or asked from me. I don't know if it was before we were in the hospital, during the hospital stay. I don't know because she had this in her notes in her phone. And a few weeks before she died, there was never a time where it was just me and Rachel in that hospital room, because literally people flocked in from all over the world to come say bye to
Wow.
Rach, right?
Yeah.
And so like there was not a time where it was just she and I. And even she's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan, and the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl that year. We had a massive Super Bowl party in her hospital room. 50 people. There's pictures on my social somewhere, but my brother's literally rolling in a keg. I'm like, can you do this, bro? Like in a hospital? But there were no rules in Rachel's room. There were no rules. We had it was anyway. We had a big screen. It
Yeah.
was awesome. And so anyway, but there was a night she's like, hey, I just want some time with just you. There's things that I want to talk about with you. And so we had kind of our last date is what we called it. I got some popcorn at the movie because she wanted movie theater popcorn. So I had someone run and get that, and just a big Coke. Big movie theater Coke. And so we had our little last date, and she was just wanted to share some things that she were on her heart. And so she had them in her notes, and she was kind of in and out of like the medicine was hitting at this time. So she said, I just want you to read them out loud rather than her read them to me. And so I was reading these out loud, and man, it took forever to get through them because it was a lot. But um, you know, some of them were as easy as I need you to take care of yourself. You have got to be proactive with your health, because Rachel was always the one that made me go to the doctor and made me do this and made me do that. Like I just wouldn't do it. And she's like, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You have to take care of yourself. And she said, I've already set you up a doctor's appointment. It's in your calendar. And she had it set up in my calendar. And she's like, you're not allowed to cancel that. You got to go to that. And so things like that. But some of the fun ones were, um, I need you to join the golf club with your dad, which doesn't seem like a lot at the time, but as you continue to read it on, we had a little bit of debt at the time. Actually, we had a lot now because we had a lot of medical debt.
Yeah.
And Rachel's big thing was, I don't want you to join a golf club when we have debt. That doesn't feel good to me. And she said, it's in this note. It said, when you're dying, debt doesn't really matter. What matters is doing more of the things you love with the people you love. Go join the club. And so I was going to join the club, bro. I was gonna join the club, but getting permission, getting permission,
Yeah.
was so special to us. And my dad and I to be able to have that season at the golf club where we play golf together almost every day, was so special. And just having Rachel say, "Go," and the lesson there is do more of the things you love with the people you love.
Yeah.
You have this much time. If and so I live my life that way. Do more of the things you love with the people you love. The other thing was find love again. And that's a hard one with widows and widowers because a lot of times the families are not okay with them moving on. But for Rachel to
Right.
give me that permission and her parents to know like that, again, I was going to. I was young. Ideally I'm gonna was gonna find love again, right? But like to just have
Right.
that permission to go do that. And she said, not tomorrow, not next week. Don't be weird with it, but go find someone that will love you and the kids so well, right? And like to be able to have that blessing
Yeah.
in this space matters. And I have, and I found love again, and I'm engaged, and to a widow that loves Rachel and loves my kids. And my little man said the other day, if mommy could have picked anyone, she would have picked her. And like
Wow.
because my fiance makes such beautiful space for Rach and holds that space with these kids so well. And we talk about her every day. And so that's just a beautiful one. And so it was just such a special time to be able to have permission to live and to
Yeah.
love and to laugh and to be okay. It's okay to be okay. It's okay to be okay. Don't feel guilty when you have a good day. Don't feel guilty when you have more good in your day than bad. That's all she wanted was for us to be okay.
It's so powerful and so cool. And I know, um, whenever you share about Rachel, it's like people can get a glimpse of it. And I got a unique glimpse, I feel like, because I got to meet Hadley. I got to meet your
Yeah.
daughter, and she's the sweetest, and she's writing a book, which is so cool. And
Yeah, man.
um, but I think just that, I've heard you hear stories, like you hear stories of loss, and you can even put yourself in those shoes, of what would I do if my wife passed away suddenly? We have three
Mm,
kids, but then you meet the child in that scenario, and you actually see like the depth of relationship that you have with her. You see
mm,
I mean, you shared the whole story with everybody there. There was no dry eyes, and she heard it
mm,
all. And I know,
mm.
you know, that's her experience too. Like that's her story too. But I thought it was just really beautiful to like get to see her, and she's like one of the coolest people, and I know you know that. And she will be on the podcast. We told her that
Yeah,
back
dude.
then. We're gonna
Yes.
make it happen. But
I love it.
maybe just talk about that, just that parenting shift. You already mentioned
Yeah.
it, but what are some of the things that are like core to you, core to your parenting, core to your life today in
Yeah,
light
man.
of everything?
Man, that's such a good question. And I think that was the thing that was most tricky to navigate is how the kids grieve differently.
Yeah.
Right. And so Hadley, who you got to meet, Hadley felt like she had to grow up and be mom at
Mm,
7 years old or whatever, which I
right.
guess she was, this would have been, I mean, she was 9, and she
Yep.
felt like she had to jump in and be the caretaker. And I have to remind Hadley, and you could even see that, at this retreat, like she's an old soul, dude.
Yeah.
She's 14 going on 40. And I'm like, Hadley, you get to be a kid this long. You just be a kid. Be a
Hmm.
kid. But I mean, she's just such a nurturer, such a
Yeah.
caretaker, and such a great big sister. And she, Hadley wanted to dive into therapy and still does sometimes. Like it's like that, without she really wanted that, right?
Right.
And needed that. And so we went that path with her. Cooper's my middle daughter, and Cooper doesn't love to talk about it, but knows mommy's in heaven, and that's enough. And but we'll talk about it together. She's like, I don't need to talk to there. Like I know mommy's in heaven. Mommy's good. I mean, I'm good, right? And so like Cooper
Right.
just and Macklin has his moments, man. Macklin was, all Macklin knew was sick mommy. She died when Macklin
Wow.
was 5, right? And so she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
sick for 2 years of that. And so Macklin's memories of mommy were different. And so it's seeing pictures and telling stories and and all of them though and this is hard to hear, but all of them are forgetting a lot because I don't remember much when I was 5,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Macklin's lived more of his life without his mommy now than he did with her, which is insane, right? And so just continuing to talk about her and share fun memories and hold the space for her is so important. And as far as how being dad looks, without her, man, I had such a community. I did not do this alone. Rachel threatened people that they better step up, and so like the crazy thing, bro, is she died March 1st, 2020, and everything shut March 13th. The world shut down, right, for
Yep.
COVID. And so um, you were as lost as I was. The guy next door was as lost. No one knew what to do, right? And so like it's like COVID is not a blessing, man, but for our family to be able to just struggle through it with all y'all, trying to figure out how to navigate what life looked like, right? It's almost like I had a free pass to not know because nobody
Right.
knew. And so it was family, friends, community. We all had our bubble. We had a big bubble of people that were just helping us navigate through this, right? And so, the kids feel like they have 12 moms because so many people stepped into their lives and helped them, navigate things. And so I was never, they always say, man, like, people will eventually go away. They're going to give you 6 months or 5 months or a few months of love. And no one's ever gone away from these kids, man. Like people just
Yeah.
continue to pour into them, continue to love on them, continue to show up. And I don't know if it's the wrath that Rachel threatened or if they just love these dang kids. But man, and I think what's cool is you got to meet Hadley and see, man, she's well adjusted. She's strong. She's independent. And like anyone that hadn't got to experience my kids, it's like, man, they've got to have trauma and they've got to, and like, man, they're so good. They're
Yeah.
so good. And again, not because of me, because of our community, because of the people that love them, because of Rachel preparing us for what this next season would look like. Man, they're just incredible, happy, joyful, loving. They are their mommy, and it's just the coolest thing in the world to see them thrive and have the incredible perspective of what matters. Like they watched their mommy die, whether they remember a lot of it or don't. Hadley more so, Cooper probably more so, Macklin not as
Yeah.
much. Man, drama at school, not really a big deal. You know, um, uh, a bad, volleyball match, not really a big deal. Watching your mommy dies, that's hard. That's a
Yeah.
lot. Like boys and girls relationship breaking up, losing boyfriend, not really that big of a deal. I mean, at the time it feels like it's the most important, but then you step back, you're like, man, their perspective, to have a perspective of like what really matters, man. Like what's really hard in life,
Yeah.
at that age is pretty special. And so they've made my job as dad so easy because they're just so dang good, man.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like you guys are in a new season too, where you moved, somewhat
Yeah.
recently, and and obviously that's another thing in that journey, another step in that journey. And I think a lot of people that are listening are probably thinking, okay, tell us about the next part. And we just don't have time for that today because I do think though that when it comes to healing, and we're right now we're in this series of kind of identifying where we are and where we want to go, or where we feel God's calling, and how we have to really be honest about the place we are. And I think I think Rachel helped you get really honest about the place where you were. And
Mhm.
I think it was like a step for you guys to move, not forward or move on, but you have to move forward. Like you have
Yeah.
to keep living. And, you know, what I want to ask you kind of as we close though is, you're sitting across from a guy with three young kids. My kids are just about 8, 6, and 4. And I know those are very similar ages in
Yeah,
where
man.
your kids were at that point in your life. Um, but the thing that I'll ask the question in a second, but a lot of people will kind of go with the loss, and now I learned these things through loss. Well, you had the huge blessing, and I think it's really encouraging to me that you learned a lot of this the year prior.
Yeah.
You were learning a lot of this, and I don't think it always requires loss for us to have these shifts in perspective. I think relationship and meeting people that have experienced different things do that. But what's if you just want to talk to me or talk to the audience, like what are two or three things that you would say this is what matters most, or like this is how you move forward?
Yeah, man. Gosh, we need a whole nother episode, bro. We need a whole
We can
nother.
arrange
That's
that. Yeah.
part two from the golf course. Man, I think about some of the lessons that I wrote about in my book, and uh, one of them is shoot your shot, man. Go for it. Macklin was a preschooler. Um, this was right after Rachel got diagnosed. He was a preschooler and he had a crush on this fifth grade girl. Her name was Hayden, man, and he loved it. Macklin loves older women. And he loved this girl, Hayden. And he told me, Daddy, he said, Daddy, I want to get her something for Valentine's Day. Preschool. He's in preschool. So well, let's do it, bud. He's absolutely so every day we'd go pick up the girls from school. We'd walk there, pick them up, and Hayden would come out, and Macklin would see her. He'd get all red and embarrassed, and sometimes he'd have to run away because he was so scared about what to do. And but he wanted to do something for her on Valentine's Day, and so I said, well, what do you want to do? How do you want to do? He's like, I want to get her a rose. And I said, flowers. And I said, okay, let's do it, man. And he, he was too young, he was too slow, he was too short, he was too little, had nothing going for him. Everything was stacked against him, right? There's no way you should be doing this. All the boys at Cabot Elementary loved Hayden. Macklin's got no shot, right, to seal this, right? And he came up with this idea. I did not help him at all. He said, Daddy, I'm going to go as Batman. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm going to wear my Batman costume because then if I get scared and get a red face, she won't be able to tell because I have my mask on. And if I need to run away, I can just fly away kind of thing. And like, this is a preschooler, right? And so he comes down Valentine's morning and or Valentine's afternoon and he's got his whole Batman outfit on and he's holding roses. It's on my social. And we go and I asked him, I said, you nervous? He's like, no, Daddy, I'm good. I'm good. I got this, and so we go and he's standing there when Hayden comes out and Hayden comes and he doesn't run away and she gives him this big hug and he gives flowers. She actually had a gift for him, which was the cutest thing in the world. And Macklin shot for it. And all the odds stacked up against them. And the whole point of that story is like, man, what are we afraid to go for?
Yeah.
Whether it's that new podcast, writing that book, starting that business, asking the girl, whatever that thing is, right? Sometimes you got to go as Batman, but you got to go. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like I've failed so many times in business and in life, and like I've never looked back. I mean, man, I wish I would have done it differently. Maybe here's what I learned from it. But
Right.
man, like, go for it, shoot your shot, be a Batman. Another thing that came from that season, I have 100 of them, but another fun one, like there was this guy in this RV park that did not look like me, did not act like me, did not talk like me, almost looked homeless, uh, to the point where I would like kind of steer the kids away from him when we'd be walking down to the office and it just wasn't my person, right? The guy that when you're in the aisle at Target, you probably go another aisle over just because we've all done it. Like it just didn't
Right.
feel safe or comfortable. Um, And one day we were at the playground at the RV park, and this guy comes walking, hadn't shaved in who knows how long. I'm sure didn't smell good just because that's what I felt like, right? Just that
Yeah.
wasn't my people. And little Cooper, who was 4 years old at the time, runs out to the side of the RV, or to the playground. I'm like, oh shoot, what is this going to look like? And she just said, "Who is your name?" Instead of "what is your name?" "Who is your name?"
What's your name?
And he said, "My name's Mark." She's like, "Hi, Mr. Mark." And she just ran back over. Over the next couple months, this guy became a dear friend of ours.
Wow.
He had fought in Iraq. He had jumped out of planes. His story was incredible, and he was living at that RV park because he was taking care of his sick mom. He taught me so much about life and about just because you don't look like me, talk like me, act like me, doesn't mean you are not an incredible human who loves well. He would come to dinner at our campfire almost nightly. Became a like they ended up calling him Uncle Mark,
Mm.
because this guy loved, and he continues to send my kids things to this day, candy and gifts and things like that. Actually, he actually passed away last year, I believe, until the day he died. He continued to sow into my kids. And when we're at Starbucks or when we're at Target, the people we miss because we're afraid to ask, "Who is your name? Who is your name?" The stories
Mm.
we miss, the relationships we miss because we avoid those conversations. And Cooper taught me, man, people are good. Most people are so dang good, no matter what they look like, no matter what they talk like. And so I've tried to be better at just being available and asking the guy next to me, "Who is your name?" Because you just never know. I can't imagine our life without Mr. Mark, Uncle Mark. And if it wasn't without Cooper, a little 4-year-old teaching me how to be better. And
Wow.
again, there's 100 of them. We don't have time, but
Yeah.
like, um, life is short, man. People are good. And the thing I would tell you, which is what Rachel told me all the time, is just be there with your whole face, bro. Put it down, man. Put the phone down, put the iPad down, put the computer down, make intentional time, because it's so easy to be distracted. These things are so distracting, and they can take away from what really matters so often. And Rachel hated her phone. She loved when she'd lose it because she hated the distraction that it caused.
Yeah.
And I've adopted that. Am I perfect? No. But man, I've gotten so when I'm with my people, I don't need anything else. I can't wait. I told Kim this the other day. I can't wait for our wedding weekend. My phone, I'm not going to have it my whole weekend. I do not. Everyone I need is right there,
Yeah.
right? There's not a thing I need. So if you need me, sorry, I'm out.
Mm.
I'm out
So
because I'm
good. Yeah.
there, because I'm present. So anyway,
I
sorry,
love
I
it.
know we're running out of time, but I could talk
No,
forever on that.
no, I love it. And I do think this just sets up for part two, and
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
sets people up to get your book, just do
yeah.
such a cool uh, response to your story, just to be able to have those lessons. And the last thing as we close out, though, is what's one thing that you are celebrating right now and one thing you're anticipating right now? It could be small, it could be tiny.
Yeah, man, I'm celebrating Hadley's book, man. She's gonna be 15 in August. And she wants to have it at least on pre-sale by then, which we're gonna do. And it's just a book about perspective, a teenager's book about perspective, man,
So
and
good.
and inclusion and availability, and it's her perspective. I'm helping her a little bit, but it is her, and it's so beautiful. So that's what I'm anticipating, or that's
Well,
what was the other question?
celebrating and anticipating.
Okay, celebrating is my wedding, man. Like I found someone so good that has allowed such a beautiful space for Rach, that has loved all my kids like only Rachel could. That I don't deserve, but my kids do. And I'm so blessed and so grateful. And I get to spend the rest of my life with her. And my kids get to do life with her. And man, it's beautiful. It's the easiest relationship I've ever had because again, perspective change, man.
Yeah.
She lost her person, I lost my person. What matters? What's
Right.
hard? Man, like what it's
Yeah.
like, what are we gonna argue about? What are we gonna fight? Like we did hard.
Yeah.
And of course there's gonna be some ups and downs there. But there hasn't been in 2.5 years, 2 years, there hasn't been a single argument because what's hard? What's worth,
Yeah.
And there will be, but it's just been so healthy and so good, and I'm so grateful. So that's my celebration.
Dude, love it. Love it. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm so glad that people get to hear about you and your story, your family, and you're the real deal. And congrats in advance. Wedding bells.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Hey, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for everything you do. I'm glad we get to work together a little bit now. I'm glad that we get to be friends, man, and eager to see what you are up to because I know you're always doing awesome things, and I'm glad I get to have a seat there watching what you're up to. So thanks for having me. Let's do this again. Let's get Hadley on. I think a sneaker guest is Cooper. Cooper's a fun guest, dude. Cooper would be fun to have too.
I
So
love it.
if you
Let's
just
do
want
it.
to get them all, it'd be fun. So I
Let's
appreciate
make
you,
it
man.
happen.
Nothing but love for you, bud.
Hey, you too. Appreciate you a ton. Wow. I, again, just really appreciate Brandon, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and this conversation with Brandon. But Megan, give us some takeaways. Like, what were your takeaways listening to this episode?
Yeah, it's such a powerful conversation, but something that stopped me in my tracks was when Brandon was talking about the 8 things that his wife left him with, and one of her encouragements was join the golf club with your dad, which he found a little bit silly, but then she goes on to write, when you're dying, what matters most is doing more of the things you love with the people that you love, so join the club. And that just stopped me in my tracks. I'm just like, makes me want to go do something that I'm really excited about.
Yeah. I feel like this whole episode was one could have been 3 hours. Like I was just like, can we just talk longer and more? But yeah, I think that perspective that he received, that he walked away with, I don't think everybody has to wait till that point to make those decisions. Her encouragement was join the golf club, but what is that for us? And so that's going to bring us to today's challenge, the Just Do Challenge. That's the name of Brandon's book. He wasn't even promoting the book or anything, but it's a great book because it really walks through this experience and their story. But just do. And so what's something that you're going to do this week? For that example is joining the golf club. Maybe it's doing something with somebody you love. Maybe it's doing something that you've been putting off, but just do it. It could be the Nike challenge, but we're going to go with the Just Do challenge.
I like that.
Yeah. Anything to add to that challenge? Like what's going on in your mind? Like, is there something that's sparking for you?
Well, actually just this weekend, my friend and I had always wanted to do a pottery class. So we booked it. We were like, let's just do it. Why not?
Amazing. That's awesome. That'll be so fun. So Just Do challenge. Make sure you check out the broadcast channel. Share what you're doing this week. I would love to see pictures. I would love to see updates of what you're doing this week. And subscribe to the podcast. Share with a friend. I know this episode especially is very shareable because it's very relatable. Love Brandon. And so make sure you share this with somebody you think should hear it. But we love you, and we'll see you next time on the Everyday Adventure Podcast.